Okay, so we can get started. So Bhunaji won't be there. So, and Bhunaji, a lot of other people won't be there. So Anu, could you please do the invocation?
Yeah. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu. So we are coming to the final verses of chapter 8. And as I told earlier, chapter 8 is a totally different chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If you really look at the whole content of this chapter, it completely stand out. And today we are going to get into that final portion of this chapter. But before that, I wanted to do a quick analysis on certain things which is described as a belief, right? We need to understand what is a belief and what is knowledge. There is always a difference between belief versus knowledge. And we wanted to understand a little bit scientifically. And unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't make today because I really wanted everybody to listen to this, because a lot of time we tend to believe things blindly. That's not the style of the Gita. 18th chapter, after giving the entire discourses, remember what is the last verse of the Gita? Anybody know that?
Now I have told everything. It's up to you.
Analyze it and take it,
Yeah.
if it makes sense. It's very important because you cannot, and that is the topic I wanted to spend some time today. And also we had a question. Anu requested if we can spend 5 minutes on Gayatri Mantra, that would be good. So we will do that also. So that's the whole topic we are going to discuss. So we will get started. So this 8th chapter, again, it is the part of the second portion of the Gita, because the first 6th chapter of the Gita is predominantly talking about whom? Myself, right? And the second 6th chapter is going to talk about the God or the Ishvara. And the third 6th chapter, because the chapter 13 to 18 is going to talk about the connection between the individual me and the total. So this is the style. And 8th chapter, 7th chapter, we saw the nature of the God. We talked about the transcendental nature and immanent nature. We may not be able to directly experience the transcendental nature of the God at this point of time, at this time and at this place, but definitely the immanent nature is experienceable, right? If you remember, he said, when you taste water, you feel wetness. Understand me there. When you see the light of the sun, understand that it is my glory. When you see the reflection of the moon, understand that it is me, right? Pranava sarva vedeshu. Whenever people talk about the higher reality, whether it is Bible or Quran or the Gita, that is me. So like that, we got a beautiful picture of who is reality or the Ishvara. And also we got the two forms, right? One is the absolute reality, which do not have any name or form or whatever whatsoever. And when we talked about the differentiated Ishvara, which is a derivative of that absolute reality. So we saw all that. And when it came to the 8th chapter, there was a whole twist and deviation. And the content of this 8th chapter, as we discussed multiple times, it is completely a matter of belief. So today we are going to talk a little bit about what is belief. How do you how do you do, what do you need to do with a belief? And also this complicated karma theory. Is that absolutely must have for you to believe, for you to understand Vedanta? So some of these rational thoughts we will see. And I got a very interesting question also I will answer. So this is what we are going to see. So we were discussing verse 21. So Anu, could you please chant the verses? Let's chant from 21 to 25.
Okay. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अक्षरपरब्रह्मयोगः। अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः तमाहुः परमां गतिम् यं प्राप्य न निवर्तन्ते तत्धाम परमं मम। पुरुषः स परः पार्थ भक्त्या लभ्यस्त्वनन्यया यस्यान्तस्थानि भूतानि येन सर्वमिदं ततम्। यत्र काले त्वनावृत्तिम् आवृत्तिं चैव योगिनः प्रयाता यान्ति तं कालं वक्ष्यामि भरतर्षभ। अग्नेर्ज्योतिरः शुक्लः षण्मासा उत्तरायणम् तत्र प्रयाता गच्छन्ति ब्रह्मविदो जनाः। धूमो रात्रिस्तथा कृष्णः षण्मासा दक्षिणायनम् तत्र चान्द्रमसं ज्योतिः योगी प्राप्य निवर्तते।
Excellent. So if you remember, we talked about the two way of liberation. What is the fundamental problem we are trying to solve here? Getting freedom from all the sufferings, right? Physical, emotional, social, whatever it is, that freedom from all sufferings is the goal. Remember, any questions, please ask. And we said, this is the whole spiritual path. And the whole spiritual path is divided into two steps. What is the first step? Broadly called as?
Yoga.
Exactly. The first step is yoga. Yoga consisted of two major portions. One is called Karma Yoga. The other one is called Upasana Yoga. The so-called Raja Yoga comes under Upasana Yoga. So Karma Yoga, what is the goal of the yoga? What is the purpose of the yoga? Let's do a little bit of question.
Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Sthiti.
Perfect. Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Sthiti. You need to have a purified mind and you need to have a controlled mind. What is the means to get the purification?
Nishkama karma.
Karma Yoga, right? Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, the goal of the Karma Yoga is Chitta Shuddhi, mental purification. What is the goal of Upasana Yoga? Or the Raja Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga? All these things are Upasana Yoga, right? So what is the goal of that yoga?
Stability of mind.
Stability of the mind or control of the mind. Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So that's the goal. So when you practice Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, you get a pure mind and a stable mind. The first part is known as Karma Yoga. Second part is Upasana Yoga. And once you do the Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, you get a stable and a pure mind which can reflect your own true nature. So once you have that purity and stability, you can pursue knowledge and the knowledge is going to liberate you. So this is the path. And this chapter, what was the major focus? Upasana Yoga, right? Upasana was the focus. And this chapter talked about a specific Upasana. Those who are advanced meditators or advanced Raja Yogis or Kundalini Yogis, what do? At will, they can leave their prana. They can choose to get out of the body, or they can choose to leave their body at their will. So they have sufficiently practiced the yoga, advanced meditation technique, and through this Om Upasana, they will leave the body at their will. And what happened to them? They will attain a particular mukti called
Krama Mukti.
Krama Mukti, exactly. It's a staged mukti. Whereas those who are able to gain that knowledge in this lifetime, what do they get?
Jivan Mukti.
Exactly. Excellent. You are all completely on top of this, which is great. And Krishna said, right, other than this mukti, even if you go to any place, even though you think that there is a heaven, suppose there is a heaven, suppose you go there, that also is time bound. Remember, we did that detailed analysis. Finite actions is never going to give you an infinite result. So even if you go to heaven, if there is a heaven, it's a matter of faith. Nobody can prove it or disprove it. We don't want to talk about that. That's not our goal. Even if you go to heaven or any loka, that is finite. So the only way for you to get liberated, when I say only way, don't think that this is the only way. Any teachings of any master. So we need to underline that, because otherwise people get confused. So the only way for you to get liberated is through knowledge. And in that knowledge part, we heard in the last class, Krishna said, right, there is a absolute reality which is not subjected to any change at all period of time, right? It is, we saw a lot of description. It is all pervading. It is absolute reality because it is not dependent upon anything else for its existence. It is not subjected to any change. That absolute reality is going to be there all the periods of time. That reality will be always there. And we call it as Brahman, we call it as Atman, we call it as Purusha, different names. Call it whatever name you want on the religious terms. You can call it as Father in heaven, you can call it as Brahman, you can call it as Allah, it doesn't matter. But that is the absolute reality. And from that absolute reality, what happened? Remember that whole discussion? The undifferentiated universe. So the universe in its potential form comes in. A simple example is you can consider this as energy and matter. The condensation of the energy is matter. When it manifests as matter, it is manifested. Whereas when it is in the form of potential energy, you won't see it. But that doesn't mean that it is not there. So the undifferentiated universe will come. And from the undifferentiated universe, the differentiated universe come. But Krishna was saying that beyond this Vyakta and Avyakta, undifferentiated and differentiated universe, there is an absolute existence. And I am that absolute existence. And that is there all the periods of time. And knowing that absolute reality is your goal. The ultimate goal of all yoga. Because when you look at the word yoga has two meanings, right? It came from the root, and one meaning is called union, and the second meaning is called samadhi, right? These are the two meanings. What is samadhi? Samadhi is the ability to control my mental activities. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha. And what is the second definition? Once you have it, union with that absolute reality. So these two definitions will fit well, and knowing that Ishvara is the ultimate goal. Any questions so far? And this union can happen in two different ways. One is as a Jivan Mukti, and the second path is Krama Mukti. Any questions? Any questions, please ask. We'll spend a little bit more time on Q&A because a lot of people couldn't join today. So any questions? I think you all are clear because you're answering all the questions, which is good. So if that is the case, let's proceed. Please feel free to jump in and ask questions. This needs to be clear. So let's go to verse 22. Anu, could you please stand?
Purushassa parah partha bhaktya labhyasvananyaya yasyantasthani bhutani yena sarvamidam tatam.
Brilliant verse. You could see this verse as a reflection of modern physics. That's what it is. So he tells Purushassa Parapartha. Para means what? When you add the prefix para, what is the meaning? Absolute, supreme. So that supreme Purusha is the ultimate goal, O Arjuna, O Partha. Partha means the son of Pritha, or the son of earth, or all human beings, or child. That Purusha is the ultimate destination for everybody. And what is Purusha? Beautiful term. Purusha, the literal meaning is very, very beautiful. So you have a body, you have a mind, you have an intellect. All these are inert and insentient matter, right? You need the consciousness for all these things to work, right? We have discussed this multiple times. That by which you are aware of your thoughts is consciousness. If that consciousness is not there, there is no life. But when you look at this consciousness, it doesn't do any activity. It lies as if it is sleeping, but it is not sleeping. Because of its presence, everything is happening. When you look at an electrical equipment, a fan, for example, the blades are rotating in a high speed. And when you look at the electricity, it is very much like it is as though the electricity is sleeping in the fan. But you and I know very well that without that electricity, the fan is useless. So like that, the consciousness in us, it is lying dormant. It is lying as though it is sleeping. But because of that consciousness, the whole thing acts. So Purusha is that. So this idea is symbolically represented in the form of a divine form. You know who it is? The Puranas represents this idea in a symbolic form. Vishnu. What is he doing 24/7? As though sleeping. But he is not sleeping. Vyapaneti iti Vishnu, right? That which pervades everywhere. Vishnu is a symbolic representation of that Purusha. It's a representation, it is a form. That doesn't mean that God can be represented only as Vishnu. God can be represented as Shiva. God can be represented as Allah. You can be represented as Father in heaven. It doesn't matter. But one symbolic representation of the God is Vishnu. And this idea is borrowed there, Purusha. So that's why Purusha. And then he defines the next two words, right? Everything in the universe, right? He tells it comes out of this Purusha. Sorry, let me bring it up. Okay, sorry. So he tells everything in the universe, right? All beings. Sorry, this is 22. Okay, so he tells all the beings are in him, and every being exists in him. Pause and think about that. If you are thinking about God, what is the nature of the God? The whole universe came out of Ishvara. Where exactly it sustains? It is sustained by Ishvara. And finally, the universe, when it merges back, where it goes? To Ishvara. Simple example. The wave. From where the wave is born. Who is the creator of the wave?
Ocean.
Ocean or water. Yeah, let's take it as ocean. In whom the wave exists? Ocean.
Ocean.
Finally, where the wave goes back?
Ocean.
Ocean. Gold ornament. From where the golden ornament came?
Gold.
Gold. In whom the gold ornament exists? Gold. If I take the gold out of the gold ornament, nothing remains. And finally, when the gold ornament is destroyed, what exactly remains?
Gold.
It is gold. So in whom the whole universe exists, by whom the whole universe is sustained, and unto him the whole universe goes back, and that is God, and that is Purusha. So Shankaracharya pauses here and he tells, this is the Tatastha Lakshana and Swarupa Lakshana of God. So let's understand what is Tatastha Lakshana and Swarupa Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana means you're pointing out something and you're trying to explain this. You're saying that you're pointing out an effect and talking about the cause. Right? So you're talking about a gold ornament. So your view, what you have view is only the ornament. So using that ornament, you're trying to derive something out of it. That is another example. When you see the electricity, you are saying that that electricity is created by some potential energy. So what you see, you use that and you try to explain something. So Purusha's Tatastha Lakshana is the world. When you look at the world, you are directly experiencing a world. So if this world is there, there has to be a cause for that world. And what is that ultimate cause? Swami Chinmayananda used to call it as uncaused cause. What is that uncaused cause of that universe? That is Ishvara, or the absolute reality. And by whom the whole universe is sustained. Simple example. The pot is sustained by the clay. The pot is created or from the clay. And finally, the pot goes back to the clay. Like that, the whole universe manifested or projected from that Purusha. And the universe exists in that Purusha. And finally, the universe goes back to that Purusha. So you're using the what is manifested and try to explain the unmanifested or the reason behind that. And that is what is called Tatastha Lakshana. These two Lakshanas are part of another school of our Indian spiritual tradition called Nyaya, the logic, the school of logic. This is what it is. And then Swarupa Lakshana. What is the nature of something? For example, if you are talking about Brahman or the reality or the Ishvara or the God, what is the nature of that absolute reality? That is what the second portion of the verse. Satyam Jnanam Anandam Brahma. It is the absolute. What is the definition of Satyam? Trikala Abadidam Satyam. Meaning that which is not subjected to change at all period of time. That is that which is not subjected to change. That which is not subjected to negation. That is Satyam. Absolute reality. Then Jnanam. It is of the nature of full of knowledge. Remember, again, I don't want to be complicated. We already discussed this a lot. When you think about the manifestation of the universe, anything that got manifested should have two causes. Anybody remember that? Say a pot is created. There has to be a material cause. There has to be an intelligent cause. And finally, there has to be a efficient cause. So instrumental cause. So material cause is pot, clay. Efficient cause is the pot maker. And the instrumental cause is maybe the tool used to make the universe, meaning the pot. So if you apply those three causation factors into this universe, material cause is absolute reality, intelligent cause is absolute reality, and even the instrument cause is absolute reality. God didn't borrow some material from outside to create the universe. No. Those are silly arguments, right? It cannot withstand the test of logic. So that is why it is full of knowledge and Satyam Jnanam Anandam. Anantam means what?
Infinite.
Infinite. It's not just the contours infinite. It is, Vedanta is not abstract, right? Vedanta defines the infinite properly. What is that? Remember, we talked about this multiple times. Desha kala vastu parichinna, that which is not conditioned by space. So what is conditioned by space means I'm sitting here in North Brunswick. That means I'm not in Atlantic City. Now, so I'm conditioned by space and conditioned by time. I'm sitting here in 2021. 1821, I was not here. 2121, I won't be there. So I'm conditioned by time. So this reality or the God or the absolute reality is not conditioned by space, time, and vastu. Vastu means if this is a pen, it is not this is not a projector. When you say that something is something, that implies that it is not something else. If this is a mic, it is not a computer. If this is a computer, that's not a chair. So being an object always is a limitation. That means it is not, if something is it is not a complement. So here, everything is that. So that, look at the magnitude of this definition. It's amazing. So this is the Purusha. And how do you know this Purusha? Krishna tells Ananya Bhakti. What is Ananya Bhakti? Single pointed devotion. Devotion is not just sitting and praying or praising. If my mind can fully understand that this is the only reality, everything I see that absolute reality. When I see another person, I see him as a manifestation of Ishvara. When I see a chair, I know that again that chair is a manifestation of Ishvara. So whatever I look in the world outside, I see only them as manifestation of Ishvara. That is the vision we need to develop. We will see this in the later two chapters, Vibhuti Yoga and Vishwarupa Darshana. So whatever I look, I see only as Ishvara. It comes through the knowledge, and Narada Bhakti Sutra also, it is known as Ananya Bhakti. And through this Ananya Bhakti, you can come to know, and that is how you become Jivan Mukta. Clear? Any questions? Now the fun part begins. So Jivan Mukti, there is no logical problem. Even scientists will have to accept. I talked about Erwin Schrödinger, who is the founder of quantum mechanics. He was so much fascinated by these verses. And his writing, What is Life? That brilliant book captures this thought. And so many scientists are fascinated by this aspect of the Vedanta. But when it comes to Krama Mukti, what is Krama Mukti? Krama Mukti tells me that I haven't realized that truth yet. After death, what happens? The soul or the Sukshma Sharira will go to another plane of existence, which is known as Brahmaloka or the Brahmaloka, and from there I get Mukti in a two-staged process. For that, it's not an easy step. I need to be an advanced yogi. So when I talked about this, what did I say? Is this a verifiable belief?
No.
Can you show one person who came back and explained this? Not at all. So this is a matter of belief. There is no way for anybody to prove it or disprove it. The other day, somebody texted me, right? If you talk about reincarnation, there are hundreds of examples. And what was my response? 1 million anecdote is not equivalent to a scientific proof. So let's be honest. You cannot prove it. You cannot disprove it. So how do you take this? Let's try to talk about this. So the next few verses is going to talk about this Krama Mukti. So we are going to hear that there are two paths. One is the path of Uttarayana or Shukla Gati, the path of white, and then there is a Krishna Gati, which is a path of darkness, or the Dakshinayana path. The soul can depart through those two paths and reach two different destinations.
So, Rajesh, one question here.
Yeah.
I mean, in one of the documentaries, it was shown that Shankaracharya, for a few months, he left his body and got into the king's body, one of the king's body. What we call that transition, or that
It's a transmigration, but again, let me ask you, is that a proof?
No, it is based on, that's just like,
It's a belief. I'm not questioning the belief.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that. Let's be honest, because when you study Bhagavad Gita, we need to be honest in our approach. Something you need to believe, something we need to accept. So let's talk about what is a belief. Let me ask you some fundamental question. Can you answer honestly?
Yeah, sure.
Honestly, take all the baggage you took from the past, okay? Remove it and just think honestly. Is a belief a matter of choice? Can you choose to believe something?
Yeah.
How?
I mean, it's based on what we have heard from someone or somewhere.
Yeah, let's analyze that, right? You heard something from somebody.
Yes.
Then you choose to believe, but so there are three possibilities. One is you know that it could be true, because if it is 100% proven, it's not a belief, it's a fact.
It's a fact, yeah.
Correct? So it is not yet fully proven. So it is something you try to believe, which is subjected to correction upon verification. Is that correct?
Yes, very true.
I'm trying to put the statistical definition there. This is what you call it as hypothesis in statistics, right?
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of a hypothesis?
To get the probability.
Yeah, you assume that, okay, out of 10 people, you pick 5 are going to vote for, or 8 is going to vote for Biden. This is a hypothesis. How do you prove it? You pick sufficient number of samples, random samples, and you do all these statistical modeling, all these t-test, k-test, all those fun stuff. You use the central limit theorem, all those fun stuff, and you arrive at a postulation. And then the belief becomes a little bit more definitive. But you start as a belief, hoping that this is true. But as time progresses, as more information available to you, your belief may be subjected to change. But when you accept a belief as true, at that point of time, your honest conclusion is that, yeah, that belief, that could be true.
It becomes
a
fact.
very simple example. In this country, your child, my child, everybody's child, when they were small kids, they honestly believed in Santa Claus.
True. Very true.
Right?
Yeah.
Over a period of time, what happened?
It's like their belief changes over the period of time. Like there is no Santa.
Why that change happened?
Because they know the fact that the parents are putting the things down.
Exactly. Right? So that's exactly what happens. Most of the times, these beliefs you got from parents or from the society or from the cultures, and you take it as true. In the case of religion, most of us carry that same information, because so many other things, in the case of Santa Claus, as you grow up, you do a little bit more investigation and you may change the belief. But in the case of religion, most of the time, nobody put any effort to go deeper understanding and keep that belief with them. Because the moment you realize that is not correct, you won't believe it. That's what I said. The belief is not a matter of choice. You believe that it is true. That is why you believed it. You believe that Krishna is the incarnation of God. Yeah, it's a matter of belief. You believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. It's a matter of belief. Nothing can be proven. Nothing can be disproven. And you believe that. And now, some of this belief can be proved later point of time. In the case of Santa, you know that. And some of the belief, right? Initially, we thought that the sun was going round the earth. Or as a child, you might have believed that the earth is flat. You might have believed that the sun is going round the earth. But when you started getting more and more information, these beliefs started shaking and finally it went down. Some of the beliefs you may not get an opportunity to prove. For example, let's say that Krishna is an incarnation of God. Can you tell me how do you test it? See, this is the type of discussion Shankaracharya is doing, okay? I'm not bluffing. This is how we should approach the scripture.
Yeah.
A critical mind. So please don't tag me as an agnostic or a anti-religious guy, okay? I'm just doing the analysis. So it is a matter of faith. Now, there are certain things you can prove. For example, the karma theory. What is karma theory tells? Any action you do, it will have two types of results. One is called the drishtaphala and what is called the adrishtaphala. The drishtaphala can be proven. For example, if I help a person and another person cheated another person. What is the drishtaphala? Drishtaphala is, for example, I gave $100 to a kid. Drishtaphala is that kid became $100 rich and I became
$100 less.
Exactly. That is the drishtaphala. And drishtaphala could be even more. That kid could use that for its education. So it could be beneficial to him. Or that kid can use it and do something else. All that is drishtaphala. The whole scope of science is within the realm of this drishtaphala. But the religion or the spirituality comes and tell you what? Apart from this drishtaphala, there is another adrishtaphala. And that is why it is called adrishtam. So if I do an act of charity, it gives me some credit somewhere, which would come back as a grace later or come back as a punishment later. This is the adrishtaphala. How do you prove this? Again, you can give me hundreds of anecdotes. This anecdotes is not a replacement for the proof. So this is a matter of belief. And it cannot be proven. It cannot be disproven. Reincarnation. When you talk about the reincarnation, again, it's a matter of faith. You cannot prove it. You cannot disprove it. You can come to me with hundreds of anecdotes. Some people say that, okay, means there is a person here in Newark. I met him. He went to a place and he's okay. This is my chair. That is my table. This is the school I went. All that can happen. Again, it's an anecdote. 1 million anecdote is not a replacement for a scientific proof. So it cannot be proven. I cannot prove it otherwise also. Let's be honest. Now, in that situation, what is the parameters given by scriptures to accept a belief? Point number 1. Is that belief reasonable? Point number 2. Is that belief beneficial? So even if the belief is not so reasonable, you may still choose to believe that. Why? Because it is beneficial. These are the 2 parameters you should be applying. Be very clear. Any belief you do, It has to be reasonable. It cannot be against logic. We always say that, right? It can be beyond logic, but it cannot be against the logic. And second thing is, it is beneficial. Let's go to the kids example. All of our kids, at certain stage, they know that the Santa is not real. Their belief started shaking. But did they tell you initially? No. Why?
No. Yeah.
Why? It is beneficial for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true.
So even though it is not reasonable, it is beneficial for them. So I will hold on to that belief. So this karma theory, yeah, it's not totally unreasonable. Because every cause has to have an effect. And this is the effect. So that is okay. And second thing is that it is beneficial. Because otherwise, you will always come back and ask the question, why me? You all might have asked that question, right? Why me? Why I am getting all these problems? I'm doing all the right thing. There are certain things I cannot explain. And this karma theory always gives a psychological validation for that. And the belief in the God. I myself will say, right? When I was a child, my understanding of God was what? He's sitting in a mountain with a trishul and with a jada, or he's lying down in an ocean and sleeping all over. For a period of time, I understood. No, that's only a symbolism. So my understanding changes and my belief changed, even though I understand that that's valuable. Now, is that understanding of Shiva or Vishnu? It might be not fully reasonable, but is that beneficial? 100% it is beneficial. So like this is what we need to look at. So I don't care, right, whether you go through Uttarayana or Dakshinayana, whether you get Krama Mukti or whether you get reincarnation. That is not an absolute must-have for understanding Vedanta. So this whole Krama Mukti, you should understand that it is a matter of faith. It is a belief. You can choose to believe, you can not choose to believe. It doesn't matter. But apply these parameters. Is that a reasonable belief for you? And is that a beneficial belief for you? I don't know whether the Krama Mukti is, honestly speaking, is that a beneficial belief? I don't know. Because I'm not going to practice that type of Raja Yoga technique, advanced meditation technique. Only a Patanjali or a people like that can follow that. But I cannot do that. In the Purana, you hear about a Bhishma who left his body at his will. Remember? He was shot down and he lay down in the bed of arrows and he chose to leave his body at his will. Because he was an advanced yogi. I know 100% sure that I'm not going to be like that. So this may not be much beneficial to me. So I'll just understand and go on. And it's each one you have your choice.
Yeah, but so Rajesh,
Yeah.
The same thing is the matter of, existence of Iswara is also a matter of belief.
But is that beneficial? It is beneficial,
yeah,
and it is more reasonable.
Right.
Because every effect should have a cause. And what is that absolute cause? And when you go to the definition of absolute reality, as you can see, the modern science almost reaches there. There is not much difference even in the understanding. So that is more reasonable, more beneficial. So there are unreasonable belief. So we should be a little bit more lenient. So when you ask me, the Hindu tradition do not have any unreasonable belief? Absolutely, yes. There are a lot of unreasonable belief. So you should not be holding to those beliefs. We should have the courage to understand what is good for me and take it. And our culture is giving that freedom to me, unlike other culture where you means in some cultures you do not have a freedom to open your mouth. But here you have that freedom. Hope the time spent is worth, right? This is a good discussion. You understood at least what I was trying to communicate here. What is a belief?
But then at the same time, Rajesh, this confuses us a lot, right? Like in our Hindu culture, we have 33 crores Devi Devtas, and like to your point, I mean, like all those things are pictures are set in the mind that okay, Lord Shiva is like this, Lord Vishnu is like this. So when it comes to like reading the Vedanta and Gita, I mean, like the transition is very hard actually to
It's an
like
understanding, right? So, so when you say 330 million, what does that mean? Devata, we saw that in the Gita, 3rd chapter.
yeah.
A universal intelligence, wherever there is a law, there is a governance principle. That is what is symbolically represented as
God.
Devata. So the sun or the moon, the wind or the gravity or any such matter could be potentially visualized as a Devata. So if you haven't listened to our 3rd chapter of the Gita discussion, please try to listen. We try to spend a lot of time, because what I tried to explain there was you need to marry two different point of views. One is the science. We took the same phenomena and we try to understand what is science says and what is religion says. Actually, they both are talking about the same thing, but you need to connect that through the common key. So first of all, whatever I said is not to reject any of the things you studied, but what I'm trying to say is you need to go up. Ishvara is not just limited to one particular vigraha of a temple. That is why it is called vigraha. Vigraha, it is a pointer. So it is some symbolic representation. Just like a flag captures the essence of a country, the vigraha captures the essence of God. That doesn't mean that the whole vigraha is the only word. Nobody is worshipping stone there. So we need to, that's one thing I was saying, right? The Santa Claus belief got evolved over a period of time. Why? Because we started applying our thinking and we try to understand more. In the case of religion, everybody's understanding is what they heard in the childhood. They blindly follow now. That didn't evolve. So the Vedanta helps you to see things behind all these practices. And sometimes, what happened? What is Krishna tells in the 4th chapter? Over a period of time, the practice becomes corrupted. Remember the story of that cat I told you? 2 sentences, I'll tell you the story. There was a priest. He used to do puja fantastically. But there was a cat in his house. So before the puja, he used to tie the cat. Why? Because because he didn't want the cat to interrupt the puja.
Oh, okay.
So during the puja's time, he used to put the cat in a cave or tie the cat in a place. Fast forward. His son took as the new priest. He created a checklist for the puja. So along with everything, he created a cat also as a checklist. And he added a ritual. What was that ritual?
Tie the cat.
Tie the cat. Exactly. So this is, you need to understand and see, that's why Vedanta tells more than you believe in God, you need to understand God. So now we are going to go to the final portion of this chapter. So we are going to talk about the Krama Mukti. So Krama Mukti, those upasakas, right? So there are 2 types of yogis. One is the yogis who are karmis or who mastered karma yoga, but not yet mastered the mind. Such people will take the path of Krishna, meaning Krishna means the path of Uttarayana. And then the other set of people, the upasakas who left the body by their own will, they take the path of Uttarayana. The other one is Dakshinayana. One more question before we go to that chapter. What is Uttarayana and Dakshinayana? Anybody knows?
North, south, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
It tells, right? every day when you get up in the morning, if you look at the sun, you can see that the sun is following a trajectory. It is not the sun's movement, it is Earth's movement. When Earth rotates, you see the sun going from east to west. So from January to July, if you really look at it, you can see that the sun is moving slightly towards north. And from July to December to January, right, you see that the sun is moving towards south. So the time between January and July is known as Uttarayana. So as though the sun appears to move towards north. And the Dakshinayana is the period as though the sun appears to move towards south. It's not that the sun is moving, please. Why? There is a scientific phenomena. Means that next week we'll talk a little bit about it. You think Earth is a perfect sphere. Is that true? It's not a perfect sphere. It's slightly different. So there is an angle in which the Earth is moving. And that explains why the whole season changes, right? All the different seasons comes and everything. So we'll have a discussion on that a little bit. This is fun. But that is what is Uttarayana and Dakshinayana. And there is a popular misconception. What is that popular misconception? If you die in the Uttarayana, you will get moksha. Absolutely not. So we'll clarify all those points next week. But again, these are matters of faith, and you need to understand what is matter of faith. Excellent. So we will stop here. Any questions?
So
Sorry to
Rajesh,
take some time and give the background, but I thought I need to have an honest discussion with you because we need to keep that integrity. One more thing.
Yeah, on the last point that you mentioned. So I would assume the moksha is also a belief, right? Not a
No.
fact.
Moksha is not a belief. It can be verified. You can verify that in this lifetime. So till you verify that, it is a faith. But it is subjected to verification. Heaven is not something that is subjected to verification. But moksha is something, it's not a post-mortem reward, right? If somebody tells me that, okay, you do XYZ, you will go to heaven. That's a matter of faith. First of all, whether there is a heaven or not, I don't know. By following this person, if I'm going to end up in heaven or Vaikuntha, I have no idea. Third thing is, even if I go to heaven, whether I like heaven or not, no idea. So I'm investing my whole life for some post-mortem reward. That's not what it is. Moksha means something here and now. We need to understand that. Hundreds of masters came and certified it. And you yourself can do that. One more point. This particular portion, this Uttarayana and Dakshinayana, the great master Swami Vivekananda, he was asked to comment about it. You know, what was his answer? I couldn't fully understand it. So what can I say? So it's a matter of faith, what we are going to see. So use your logic and take it or not take it accordingly. The path of Uttarayana and path of Dakshinayana, if it is beneficial to you and if it is reasonable to you. And I quoted Shankaracharya a lot, and look at the depth and honesty of our masters. It's amazing. Any comments? I didn't go over anybody's faith, right? I didn't say that any faith is wrong. I said that it has to be reasonable and it has to be beneficial. All of you agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, so Anu wanted me to quickly explain the Gayatri Mantra. So Anu, why don't you chant? Let's listen to your chanting and I will just quickly explain that meaning.
Om Bhur Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat.
It's such a brilliant prayer, Gayatri. It is said that Maharshi Vishwamitra is the founder of this mantra. And this mantra comes in Rigveda. And one of the most beautiful mantra in the Vedic tradition. So here, first of all, it's a prayer. So to whom we are praying? Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargaha. Right? I'm taking the second line. Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargaha Devasya Dhimahi. So I meditate. Dhimahi means I meditate. Dhimahi. With my intellect and with my mind, with all my heart and all my mind, I meditate upon you. To that, tat means that. That, what is the nature of that? Savitah Varenyam Bhargaha Devaha. 4 adjectives used. Devaha means that divine consciousness. What is the nature of that? It's like sun. It is like sun. Savita. What is the nature of sun? What is the difference between sun and the moon? The sun shines by itself. You don't need an external support for the sun to shine. Whereas moon, what is the difference? Remember in the 7th chapter we saw, one is Pratibha and the other is Pratibimba. Moon, if the sun is not there, there is no moonlight. Correct? So, like sun, the consciousness or the absolute reality doesn't need any support for its existence. It is self-shining. The best example of that self-shining is the sun. And that's why we call it Adityo Pratyaksha Devata, the visible God. The easiest, you look at sun. Everything in the universe is sustained by sun. The food I eat, the energy I have, everything comes from sun. And from where sun borrows that energy? Nowhere. It is created internally from the sun. So like that Deva, which is self-effulgent and Varenyaha, it's worthy of praising, right? So that God which sustains the universe, naturally it is worthy of my praise. And Bhargaha, it's shining and it is that illumining reality. So I pray to that God, one God, which is self-shining, which is the essence of all it is self-shining, self-effulgent, and I meditate upon thee. And for what? Diyo yona prachodayam. Thee, my mind. Oh God, give me that clarity of thinking. Let my mind and intellect have the clarity of thinking to see things as they are. And what is that universe is sustained by this absolute reality? He tells, Bhur Bhuvaha Suaha. Bhur means that world which is known to me, which I have a direct experience. Bhuvaha means that world which I do not have a direct experience, but I have an indirect experience. So Suaha means that world I do not have even no experience at all. So the whole, that it just shows the entire scope of the universe. The universe known to me, the universe partially known to me, and the universe unknown to me is sustained by that absolute reality. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhi Diyo Yona Prachodaya. So that God, that reality, that self-effulgent reality, which sustains all the universe, known, unknown, and partially known, let that God gives clarity to my thinking so that I can see things properly. When I see things properly, I feel things properly. When I feel things, see and feel things properly, I act properly. This is the meaning of the Gayatri Mantra. And the whole mantra starts with the word Om. Word Om refers to the name of the God. It is a sound symbol representing the God. So we saw this in the Yoga Sutra. We saw this in the Bhagavad Gita. Pranava. What is the nature of, means, see, if you want to, see in math, in algebra, if you don't know something, how do you solve it? If I say, I brought a basket of mango to this classes and I gave 10 mangoes to you, 5 mangoes to you, and 15 mangoes remaining the basket, how many mangoes I brought? How do you solve? Right now, I don't know how many mangoes I brought. So what will I do?
X equals
X. I put a variable.
Yeah.
So right now, we are in the spiritual quest. We are seekers. We don't know what is the nature of that reality. So I put a variable, a sound symbol to represent that reality. And that sound symbol is known as Om. So now, why did you pick Om? Why don't I call Alpha? Or means let's forget about Alpha. Sanskrit, another letter, why didn't we pick it up? Or another word, why didn't we pick it up?
It's the primordial sound.
Yeah, the word Om, what they did was very interesting. They said it has to be a representative of every names in the universe. Right? It has to be a representative of the entire names in the universe. So what do you do if you open your mouth and make a sound? What is that sound? Right? If you open the mouth and make a sound, if you close the mouth and make a sound, what would be the sound? And what about the in between? Ooh, right? A plus O plus a new sound is created, which is Om. So either you have to open the mouth or close the mouth or in between. That is how you create all the word. So these three were taken as representatives, added together, created a variable Om, and solving for the value of the Om is the entire spirituality.
Oh.
Good?
Yeah, very nice.
That's a beautiful explanation, Rajesh.
Very, very. I
Yeah.
was wondering how all names would come in Om, but very nice.
Yeah. So you got the meaning of Gayatri Mantra on a high level?
Oh, yes. Thank you very much.
We can go for...
So your Gayatri Mantra actually summarized what we were talking before
Absolutely.
about the belief. So it kind of summarizes everything.
Exactly. So I know you can chant this in the meditation. There is no other mantra as beautiful as this. So you can contemplate upon the
Tomorrow
meaning,
morning.
because you all want the clarity of mind. See, when I see X, I always see that as X dash, right? And then my thinking is based on X or X dash. X dash. Then my feeling, what created in my mind, is based on X dash. And my response is towards X dash. I said, yeah, it means you didn't go well, you didn't do well. But see, I read a very work article. It is so beautiful. It is said like a boss got upset at a colleague or a subordinate. The boss will forget next day, but the colleague will carry that for a week. Difference in perception. So this clarity of thinking, it is important in relationship. It is important in stress management. And it is important in living a dharmic life. Isn't it? So this mantra, chant this mantra for this clarity. Any other questions? Okay, great.
Rajesh, I do have a question. Can I
Yeah,
ask?
please.
So is it why we have different image, going back to the previous conversation, why do we have different images of all these gods
Beautiful
when
question. Yep.
we think that there is one universal.
Right.
Um,
That's a very good question. So what is the very meaning of infinite is it cannot be comprehended in one form. So infinite means it cannot be comprehended by finite terms. So you may need different symbols pointing out a particular aspect of that infinite. That's the whole idea. So there is only one reality, but that can be symbolically represented in different forms, right? So that's the whole idea. So a same fact, like you may have a pool of data. For the executive management, do you give a 200-page tabular report? No, right? You take a dice and slice. You create a view of that massive pool of data, which makes sense for them. So depending upon the culture, depending upon your mental affinity, because some people wanted to relate to that total in the form of a mother. I like it. I personally like to relate the total in the form of a mother. So that feminine form is good. And some people would like to do like a father. So that Shiva form is good. And some people would like to do a friend form. So Krishna is good. And some people would like to form a protector's form. So Muruka is good. So there are hundreds of different representation. But where the problem comes is, I think that only Muruka is correct. Krishna is wrong. Without knowing that both Muruka and Krishna are the same representation. So this is the reason. And once we understand that, everything is fine. So the most classic example is the Sahasranama. Shiva Sahasranama, one of the name of Shiva is what? Anybody knows? Vishnu. And in Vishnu Sahasranama, one name of Vishnu is what?
Shiva.
Shiva. Sarvas Sharvas Shivastanur Bodhadur Ajavavyaya, right? So this is what it is. So it's good at an elementary level. Whatever form you pick up, it is good. So any form you follow, or if you don't follow formless, all that is fine. It is people's convenience and their affinity.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions? Sorry, we took some time extra. So now we can go to the next portion confidently next week. So I can, okay. Thank you. So it's sad that a lot of people couldn't join today, but this is a good topic.
Good session, Doc. Good session.
Excellent. Thank you. So Sanjay ji, you want to announce Vikrant's program? Please do that.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rajesh ji. So this coming Saturday, we are basically we requested Vikrant ji to have one session on for professionals on the Bhagavad Gita, why it is important and what value you can bring in by reading Bhagavad Gita and following it. So it will be from 9 to 10, and then followed by a question answer session. So I shared this in the group. Please join. And this way we can connect more people from like North America, US and Canada to
English speaking population. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Please attend the class. Means everybody knows Vikrant is a wonderful speaker. So, and he can...
You said Saturday? When did you say?
Saturday 9 a.m. Eastern.
9 to 10. Okay. And since we have few more people from Suprabhat Yoga also, so I think Sunday we were planning to have earlier session. We have a discussion session. It's the last Sunday of the month. We were thinking Rajesh and I will be together, that we will cover the emotional intelligence or emotional health this time. So we will, I'll post that message on Suprabhat Yoga also, but we were planning to have it in the morning instead of the night.
Yeah,
So,
we'll plan that. And
Sure.
yeah, Rohit ji, that would be separate from the workshop we are planning. We are planning a long workshop on emotional intelligence. Hopefully we can do that later. I know that it's pending for a long time. It is my bad. So we'll do that. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you. I know, could you please chant the final invocation? Purnamada Purnamada.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
So the United Consciousness videos are published, so you can go there and watch in the UCC channel, like Swami Swarupananda's talk. Please listen, and all the talks are beautiful.
Thank you, Rajesh ji. Thanks a
you.
lot.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Thanks very much.